So thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to go ahead and admit we still have like 12 more people joining. We have a lot of people that are excited to hear this today, so that's awesome. Thank you so much for joining our Lunch and Learn today. Today we have Miss Charlotte Temple presenting an awesome presentation, and I'll tell you a little bit about her. One second. So Charlotte has over 30 years of experience in the disability field, and she has been the vice president of the ARC of Jacksonville for the last 22 years. She understands very well the critical benefits and services necessary to obtain life goals, and one of her passions is employment for those with disabilities. So she's going to be leading the discussion today. I am the host, and I'll be going through the PowerPoint and helping and following along with her. At the end, we will have time for some questions that you can, I will unmute everybody and we can take those verbally, or we can take questions in the chat at the end as well. And as always, I will send out follow-up emails for certificates and the information that we just went over as well. But please, if you need a certificate, if you want to request one, just please send me an email letting me know that you need one, and I will take care of that for you, okay? All right, and we have more people joining again, so that's awesome. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and we should be good to go. Pull it back up here. All right, so I'm going to share my screen, and we want this one. All right, so can you see the PowerPoint, Miss Charlotte?
I sure can.
Beautiful. Okay.
And for everyone, Dustin or Dina will be sending out the PowerPoint after this, so you don't have to take pictures of or copy down everything on every slide. Just know that you'll get it in the end. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct. Let me exit out and slideshow again.
Oh, wait, I lost it.
Yep. There we go.
Our topic today, though, is Social Security disability insurance payments. I am not going to be addressing or talking about SSI. The work incentives and the way SSI is impacted by employment is different. And so I don't want to confuse the topic. This is Social Security disability insurance. And so we're going to contain our discussion pretty much to that topic. We did SSI last month. Dustin, do y'all have recordings of that, or?
Yes, so all of our meetings are uploaded to our YouTube channel. So if you just search the ARC Florida on YouTube, you'll see all of our meetings.
Okay, so if you want to know more about SSI, you can check that out. As well as I'm going to give you some resources here that you can check out, both SSI and SSDI. But today's topic is SSI and work. So we'll go to the next slide. Dustin, there you go. And SSDI is Social Security disability insurance. The payments come from the Social Security trust funds and are based on a person's earnings. Social Security disability insurance has to be earned by someone. You earn it by paying your Social Security taxes on your wages. Pays benefits to disabled individuals who are unable to work, regardless of their income or resources. Earning under substantial gainful activity. And so we're going to go in and talk about SGA in a minute. It has benefits for the worker themselves, for their dependents, and for adults disabled since childhood. They must meet insured status requirements. Let's go to the next slide. And so how you gain insured status is the tax on wages is 6.2% for the individual, and the employer pays another 6.2%. The general rule is 20 credits earned in the last 10 years, ending with the year that you become disabled. Workers under 31 may qualify with fewer credits, and I've met quite a few that started work at 16, earning some money, part-time, had jobs while they were in high school. And so I've met individuals with developmental disabilities that earned a insured status and earned Social Security disability insurance payments at quite a young age. Over 42 years of age, you're going to need more credits. $1,510 of wages equals 1 credit. $6,040 of wages equals 4 credits, and you can earn only a maximum of 4 credits per calendar year. And so you can own 1 credit per quarter. But generally, you have to have 20 credits earned in the last 10 years to be a qualified individual. Now, let's go to the next slide. And so in order to receive the benefit, you have to meet Social Security's definition of a disability. And the definition from the Social Security's Red Book, and we'll talk about the Red Book through here, and I'll give you a link to it throughout the entire presentation. We'll talk about the Red Book. But to meet meaning Social Security's definition of disability, you must not be able to engage in any substantial gainful activity because of a medically determinable physical or mental impairment or impairments that is either expected to result in death and has lasted or is expected to last for a continuous period of at least 1 year. Okay, so that's the definition of a disability by Social Security's standard. Next slide. And so when it says earning under SGA, this is the eligibility for the Social Security disability insurance payment. You must still be disabled. And then they have work incentives to assist individuals to work or return to work that include a trial work period, extended period of eligibility, the SGA cessation. I can't say that word today. They're the month that it ceases, and termination. I'll work on the word before we go through the entire presentation here.
That's a tongue twister.
Let's talk. Go ahead.
I was just saying it's a tongue twister. Cessation.
Cessation. Yeah. I keep wanting to add extra syllables or something to it. But substantial gainful activity is the performance of significant physical or mental activities in work for pay or profit. And it's usually determined to be countable income in 2024. And this amount changes every year in January. I haven't known a year that it didn't change, and it usually goes up. So SGA for 2024 is income of $1,550 or more per month this year, unless you're blind. If you're blind, it's $2,590 or more per month. So there are a little bit different criteria or different eligibility markers for those who are blind. So that's substantial gainful activity. It's not that you're working or not working, but it is you're working at least at that level or above, and then you have achieved substantial gainful activity. Next slide. SSDI income is your gross wages. That's what they count. Your gross wages earned by working for someone, or earnings that you have through self-employment or any ventures that you have that you may make money and or turn a profit on. So that's what they count for income. So there are SSA work incentives for SSDI that can be used to reduce the amount of wages counted. We're going to talk about impairment-related work expenses. We'll talk about subsidies and special work conditions. So let's go to the next slide. And so here's the Red Book. On page 12, they go into a nice explanation of what is subsidies and special conditions. They consider a subsidy or a special condition when they are looking at if you're making substantial gainful activity and that decision that they come up with. They use only earnings that represent the real value of the work you perform to decide if your work is at the substantial gainful activity level. And so a subsidy is support provided by your employer that may result in you receiving more pay than the actual value of the services that you perform. So an example could be a sheltered workshop, because the employment there and the people who are employed there are provided with additional services or supports, a protected environment under an institutional program or setting. An employee working at a sheltered workshop or comparable facility for people with a severe impairment will ordinarily be considered not engaged in substantial gainful activity. This is the case if the employer's countable earnings do not average more than the amount shown in the earnings guidelines. The special condition refers to support on the job assistance provided by your employer or by someone other than your employer. For example, vocational rehabilitation agency is in providing you supports on the job. And because of this support, you may receive more pay than the actual value of the service performed. So here's some things that can tell you if a subsidy or special condition applies to you. If you receive more supervision than other workers during the same or similar job for the same pay. If you have fewer or simpler tasks to complete than other workers doing the same job for the same pay. If you're given additional or longer paid breaks than other workers doing the same job for the same pay. If you have a job coach or a mentor who helps you perform some of your work. There may be some other points that they would consider. And when I say they, anytime that you want to look at and ask your employer and talk about are you in a special condition or are you receiving a subsidy at work for the work that you are performing versus someone else at the same pay, then you would take that information to Social Security Administration and talk to them and say, does this qualify? I mean, you want to make sure that Social Security is behind you and defines it the same way that you do and your employer does, because that's going to be important for your benefits. And so, does subsidies or special conditions affect any SSI payments? I'm going to just kind of go over this to say that they do not consider SSI payments when they are talking about subsidies and special conditions. So it's no. It only is when you're looking at, are you obtaining the level of substantial gainful activity? Okay, so this one is not for SSI. So it's the only time I'm going to try to talk about that today. But if you go to the Red Book, page 12, it will show you this information. Next slide. On page 13, it talks about impairment-related work expenses. And this is any kind of expense that you may have that's related to your impairment that you need to work and be able to, get to work, do your work, be able to be prepared for your work. And so it takes a lot of different things in consideration. But if you have some impairment related work expenses that you are paying, Social Security can deduct those from your gross wages when they're trying to consider whether you are making substantial gainful activity or not. So the items or services that enable you to work, you need because of a physical or mental impairment, you have to pay for those services yourself, and you cannot be reimbursed by another source such as Medicaid, Medicare, private insurance carrier, or an employment network. The cost has to be reasonable, and it represents the standard charge for that service in your community. And so we're not going to talk about the supplemental security income here, but can IRWA be impairment related work expenses be deducted during a non-work month? Generally, no. But sometimes under certain circumstances, Social Security will consider that. And again, this is where you go and talk to Social Security about it. It could be something that you need across months, and there may be a month in there that you're not working, but you still have to have that to be prepared to go back to work. So it's good to talk to Social Security about these things and make sure that they are what they will accept and they will consider in your calculations for substantial gainful activity. Next slide. These are some things that they can consider deducting. Transportation costs, if you have specialized transportation, attendant care services, service animals, medical devices, prostheses, residential modifications. Couldn't get out of your home and go to work if you didn't have some, or you couldn't be prepared to go to work if you didn't have some. So those are all related to being able to be at work. Prescriptions, over-the-counter drugs, medical services, assistive technology that you need to use on the job, and any other cost, services, etc., that are related to the disability and necessary for you to engage in work. But again, if I was going to deduct some of those things from my gross income in calculating substantial gainful activity, I would make sure that Social Security approved of those things before I did that, or before I sent it to them and let them do it. Next slide. SSDI countable income. So this is how they come up with the countable income portion of it. They take your gross income, and then if you have any subsidy or special work conditions or impairment related work incentives that they have looked at and said, yes, they agree with it, then you subtract those amounts from your gross income, and then that comes up to what your countable income is. Okay, next slide. So we've talked about the earnings under SGA, which it might not just be your gross income, but it could be your gross income minus some of the things that we mentioned that would determine your substantial gainful activity and whether you've met that or not. You must still be disabled in order to be eligible. And now we're going to talk about the work incentives to assist individuals to work or return to work. If you want, if there's any questions that you have that it's related just to those slides that we have already talked about, I will entertain one or two of them right here, because it's hard to go forward if you don't understand substantial gainful activity.
So I do have, let's see, we had a few people, and I'll go to Kevin. The first, somebody, or Mary Griffith said, I was told that a parent on SSDI survivor mothers benefits would not be impacted at all if they live with their disabled adult child who hires and pays the parent as a DRE under CDC Plus as a 24/7 hardship of care status. Can you confirm? That's what one of the,
If the parents' payment would be impacted or the child's.
I was told that the surviving mother's benefits would not be impacted at all.
I would ask Social Security.
Okay.
I mean, I would love to say that I will have all the answers, but Social Security is the one who makes the definite decision. And that's important. I know that a parent being paid to take care of a child does have some changes and IRS rules and things. So make sure Social Security is not going to cause a problem with that.
Okay. We have one more question in the chat, but first I'm gonna unmute Kevin. He has a question.
Okay. Hi, Kevin.
Kevin, you should be unmuted. All right. Well, I asked Kevin to unmute, so we'll wait for
Okay.
him. But Mary had another question. She said, um, let's see, Kevin, you should be unmuted. I asked to unmute. Well, while I'm working on Kevin, is there a way for a CDB SSDI survivor benefit to earn and not lose QMB from Medicaid? Is pooled special needs trust the answer? Kind of a
Well,
loaded question.
you're asking a Medicaid question now. And the Medicaid guidelines are found in the SSI related disability programs for the state of Florida. And it totally depends on a lot of different circumstances. It depends on whether they have a home and community-based services waiver or other type things. So you're looking at Medicaid rules now. And we're going to keep it to supplement Social Security disability insurance payments.
Well, thank you. I'm going to see if Kevin can unmute again. I just asked to unmute.
If not, maybe we can pick him up towards the end.
Yep. Yeah, Kevin, I click a little button that says ask to unmute, and it should pop up on your screen, and you just click yes, unmute. And if that's not working, I'm not sure why. Okay, Julie asked, I have a special needs client that pays $3 a trip to get to and from work. How do we let SS or Social Security know so this will be taking into account for income?
Then you and that's probably through the ADA transportation. So it's a specialized transportation, is that correct?
It says Clay Transit.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Yes. Then you would call Social Security, ask to talk to a SSDI agent. And some people have one that they work with over and over again, and they turn in their pay stubs to. And if you do, then yes, you let them know how much it is per month. And you would turn in the exact amount it is each month.
All right.
And I think sometimes they ask for receipts and everything, and then that would be reduced from your SGA, from the gross income that would count towards SGA.
Okay. And Mary, she said that you would probably have to contact the Social Security office about that question. Miss Charlotte tries to have all the answers, but it's hard to have all the correct answers.
Well, if you don't have all the circumstances, when you talk to Social Security Administration, they know everything that they know about you, and whatever you give to them may impact some of their decisions. So that's the reason I would send you to Social Security to answer that question.
Okay. All right. Well, I think we can move on.
Okay. So let's go to the next slide, and we'll start talking about the work incentives. A trial work period is something that they offer people who are receiving SSDI in order to try out work and to test their ability to work without affecting their payment. And so for Social Security disability insurance payments, you get the entire check. There's no reduction of your check. It's the entire check until you have completed all these steps that we'll be talking about. And then you lose the entire check. So they give you a trial work period, and the purpose is to test your ability to work without affecting your benefit payment. The full benefit payment will continue no matter how much monthly wage the beneficiary achieves during the trial work period. It begins the month of entitlement to the SSDI payment or the month of application, whichever is later. It continues as trial work months are counted for each month that gross wages are $1,110 or more. And again, this is 2024's number. When you're looking at your past history, every year will have a different amount, and every year will be a little bit lower than that amount. So keep in mind that 1,110 is the indicator for a trial work month in 2024. And the reason that's kind of hard to keep in mind is because you get a trial work period that is 9 trial work months that are achieved within any 60-month period. So that's a 5-year or 60-month rolling period of time. And the 9 trial work periods do not have to be consecutive. They don't have to be within 1 year. They can be spaced out as long or as far as 60 months. So let's go to the next slide. And so this may be someone's, trial work period calendar, if you wanted to call it that. They started out in 2020. In January, they earned 1 trial work month. It was over the wages amount for a trial work period in 2020. They didn't earn another one or have another trial work month until July of that same year. Another one in November. They may have been working in retail of some kind, and so maybe there was a higher need for them and they were called in for more, work hours during that period of time, or maybe they just couldn't, work at the same level during the other months. 2021 in April, they had another trial work month. In July, same year, another trial work period month. We're only up to 5 now in 2 years. In 2022, only earned 1 in July. 2023, 1 in November. 2024, earned 1 in January. So that's 8. So at any time in this year, if they earn 1 more trial work period month, trial work month, then they would have completed or will complete their trial work period, which includes 9 trial work months earned at any time in a 5-year period. So let's go to the next slide. Okay. So here they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 trial work periods as of January of 2024. Somewhere there is an extra star here. I will apologize. But in January of 2025, forget one of those stars over there, they earned one trial. They didn't earn a trial work period. The next month, or they did, yeah, they earned one. Try this. Click it again. Ah, there you go. So they earned one. And so they lost one of their trial work periods because it's a roving 5-year or 60 months period of time. So the next month, oops, they earned another one. But there wasn't a trial work month in that period of time. The next month, they earned another one. So then in that month, because in March, a little over 60 months ago, they should lose that star. Let's see if this happens. Click again. Ah, they lost that. So now they only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 trial work months left in their 60 months. So if they earn 2 more trial work periods within the next, number of months, they will complete their trial work period. So let's see what happens. Oops. Click again. Oh, they didn't earn any that month. Okay, click again. Oh, they earned one that month and they earned another one. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now their trial work period is complete. And from this time on, their trial work period is gone. Now, some people come in, and I've worked with a number of people that as soon as they go to work, they earn their 9 trial work months all in a row. They just blow them out in 9 months and their trial work period is over. So you could do it in as short as 9 months or as long as it takes you to do it. Because that 5-year rolling period or 60 months just continues to slide on down the scale. It's kind of a hard concept to conceptualize sometimes, but I hope you followed that through. You just get 9 within 60 months. So as soon as your trial work period is over, go ahead, the next slide, you enter another period. It's an extended period of eligibility for 36 months, 3 more years. You're in an extended period of eligibility. So you're still eligible for your SSDI payment, and you'll still receive that payment until you reach the end of their grace period. So for every month that you're under SGA, you receive the full benefit. When you start earning over SGA after you've completed your 9 trial work months in a 60-month period of time, you get a grace period. So the first time you earn SGA is called your cessation month. And you keep your benefit for that month. And the next time that you earn 2 consecutive months at or above SGA, you still keep your full benefit. And this is 2 consecutive months. So if you earned over SGA or above for 1 month and it's 3 months later before you earn SGA again, you're not in danger of losing your benefit. You're only going to lose that cash payment when you earn 2 consecutive months at above SGA after you've reached your cessation month, which is that first month over SGA after you've completed your trial work period. At that point, when you have received your grace period, you're not entitled for a benefit in any month that you're at or above SGA. Now, this is the really hard part for a lot of people to understand, and they don't realize it until sometimes a year later, is any month that you are above SGA, you may receive a check because Social Security may not be aware that month that you're over SGA. So you have to keep up with whether you're over SGA for that year or not. And then that check that you get, Social Security Administration is going to ask you to return that payment. And it may take some time for them to connect that you're over SGA and you received a check. So if it takes a number of months, the amount that you're going to owe Social Security Administration back will stack up. And this is why a lot of people find themselves in Social Security disability insurance payments. This is the reason they find themselves in an overpayment from Social Security. So it's up to you to keep up with how much you're making, whether you have any work incentives or any subsidies or anything else that needed to be subtracted from your gross income, and check to see whether you're over SGA or not. And if you are over SGA and you've passed your grace period, you need to know that they're going to come ask for that check that you received from them back for that month. Okay. Now, during this period of 3 months of extended period of eligibility, the Social Security Administration can average payments over a period of time to determine if earnings were over SGA. Now, they'll only do it during this period of time. Now, I'll tell you a couple of things that can happen. If you are on a 26 pay periods in a year, that's biweekly pay, there are 2 months out of the year where you're going to receive 3 payments in that month. And your gross income would extend over SGA in those 2 months. During this 36 months of eligibility, if generally your income is below SGA and they averaged it out and it only reached above SGA for those 2 months when you got a third paycheck, then they would say you're really not earning over SGA. There could be other circumstances. You could work in retail and they call you in just to help out in December. They may call you in, at times to come in and work because more hours because they've got a big sale going on. But the months prior to that and the months after that, you may not be earning that much at all because you're not getting that many hours. And so during this 36 months of extended period of eligibility, they can average out your pay and say, really, you're not working at the level above SGA on a consistent basis. And they may not consider that that would be a month that you'd have to pay the your benefit check back, because when they averaged it, it didn't look like you were earning over SGA on a regular basis. But that's all up to Social Security's discretion. During this extended period of eligibility, after your trial work period ended, Medicare continues your eligibility for an additional 93 months after your trial work period was completed. So that's important for a lot of people, is to be able to keep that Medicare coverage and have health insurance. And hopefully, if you're earning over SGA on a regular basis and you're going on up with your earnings and your employment, that you may be eligible for health insurance or health coverage through your employer by this time. So quite a long period of time through this process. Let's go to the next slide. After completion of this 36 months, it's called your benefit termination month. And that is the first month that you earn over SGA after the completion of your 36 months of extended eligibility. Then your entire benefit is gone. But it's not just your check that is gone, your benefit is gone. You've exited that extended period of eligibility, and so your benefit is terminated. The individual then enters another phase. This phase is called expedited reinstatement for a period of 60 months. So for 5 years after your benefit termination month, then you are in a period of extended eligibility. And so you can receive 6 months of benefits while remaining, if your earnings go below SGA, you can receive 6 months of benefits while remaining below SGA, while the Social Security Administration reviews your case and determines whether or not you're still a disabled individual and that you would be eligible for continuing your benefit. You can remain 2 years on the benefit and receive your check without going over SGA, and a whole new trial work period begins. And so now you cycle back to the beginning of this entire process we've been talking about, and you start all over again. So it's not like you're may ever be without that safety net or without the ability to come back in and say, look, I can't make above SGA now, and so therefore I want and need my benefit back. And so that extended period of eligibility, that's basically what you do. You go back in and you say, I am not earning over SGA and I need my benefit back. And then they will take 6 months of giving you your benefit and reviewing your case, making sure you're still disabled and you're still earning under SGA. And if you can keep that up for an additional 18 months, then you start the entire process over and you get a whole new trial work period to start. Okay, next slide. So it's very important that you report your wages. Social Security says I think about the 10th of the month, but really you need to report them by the 3rd of the month. Because when you report them by the 3rd of the month, then they are able to adjust whether you get your check or not, especially if you're bouncing over and under SGA on a regular period of time during that 36 months, that any month that you don't earn over SGA, you're entitled to your check again. So you're less likely to stack up a number of months where you were over SGA and you have to pay them back over an extended period of time if you report your wages quickly. They say by the 3rd of the month to really get it in a 3-month period of time where they're adjusting checks. And so report your wages. Social Security offers a toll-free automated wage reporting telephone system and a mobile wage reporting application, and you can also report your wages through your personal My Social Security account. So they offer quite a number of ways to report your wages. Just do it in a very timely manner, and that will help keep you from having to do a lot of benefit, over benefit, and having to return benefits, because that's kind of scary when you have to do that, especially if you spend it. If you don't really understand what your benefits are, if you don't know where you are in the process of all these trial work periods and a period of extended eligibility or extended, expedited reinstatement, your benefits planning query is something you can request from Social Security Administration, and it includes all of your work history and earnings, what stage in the work incentive process you're in, the dates of your original disability determination, the benefit eligibility, what benefits you're eligible for. And that's something that's quite interesting because someone can come in first at 18 with a supplemental security income benefit, and then they may have worked themselves up to their own benefit through Social Security disability insurance, or maybe they had a parent retire and they may have an SSDI benefit. Also, some people have dual benefits, dual eligible, but I'm not going to really address that today. And so if you don't know what your underlying benefit eligibilities are or your current benefits are, then this is the best way to find out. And then everyone, it has a redetermination of disability with Social Security Administration. It happens every 3 to 7 years. During the last 4 years, it's really about 3.5 years because they've started doing the redeterminations of disability. There was a moratorium during COVID. They did not do any disability redeterminations during that period of time, but they're back to doing that now. So all of that is information that you can get on your benefits planning query. You can call your local Social Security office and request the document if you are the individual receiving benefits, if you're a representative pay, a non-attorney representative, or a guardian. So I suggest everybody go pull their benefits planning query and look at it. Very interesting information. The next slide. If you want to sit down and talk to an individual about your benefits themselves, Social Security provides some great training for professionals on work incentives and benefits, and they can provide individual assistance to help you understand your individual benefits and the impact that work will have on your benefits. In Florida, many centers for independent living provide this service. And also, if you're hooked up with an employment network, they usually can provide this service, and vocational rehabilitation. If you have if you're a client of vocational rehabilitation and you want to know how your work is impacting or potentially impacting your benefits, if you're getting ready to go to work with vocational rehabilitation assistance, they can set you up with a benefits planner or advisor so that you can understand how your individual particular circumstances are going to impact you're going to work. And that will give you that individual assistance that you probably would need. Next slide. I do want to mention Medicaid waiver recipients. These are usually individuals that have home and community-based services, either through the Agency for Persons with Disabilities or the long-term care waiver. And these individuals, I would say their cash benefit is not the highest priority in their life. The highest priority is probably maintaining those benefits. And so the eligibility for Medicaid is probably one of their greatest concerns. So with SSDI, they will also have Medicare. But if you lose Medicare after extended coverage periods ends, there are ways to keep the Medicaid and Medicaid waiver. And sometimes here in Florida, if you're on that home and community-based services waiver, you would also keep your Medicaid. A qualified income trust, if you're earning above the amount to beyond the home and community-based services waiver, which this year their income limit is $2,829 a month. But things like that's allowed through the Department of Children and Families and federally, a qualified income trust may be what you could do to be an income disregard only for the Department of Children and Families and Medicaid. This does not impact Social Security. And then also, if you worked yourself off of all of your Social Security benefits, the working people with disabilities on a home and community-based services waiver that the legislation passed a few years ago can keep you eligible for your APD waiver or your long-term care waiver for those necessary supports that you may need in order to survive and go to work. And it's important to know that there are ways through that you can keep those benefits even if you lose your Social Security benefits here in Florida if you're on a home and community-based services waiver. The key is, though, you've got to know the rules for each different benefit program because they're all different, all very, very different. While SSDI says they don't care how much you earned within a month when you're in your trial work period, it's just if it's over that trial work month amount of $1,110, it could be $3,000 that month or $4,000 that month. And they don't care. You're still going to get your check because that's just a trial work month. And they say don't care how much you have or what your resources are. But Department of Children and Families for eligibility for Medicaid does care because you would be over the limit for the Medicaid waiver of $2,829 a month this year. And so each organization, each agency has their own rules and their own limits. And so you just need to understand what they are. And there are processes that you can go forward, earn money, have a better quality of life, and still maintain your benefits if you need them, as long as you pay attention and follow the rules for each one of the agencies and understand how they work together. So I think that is my last slide. But anyway, I say have a better quality of life and go to work. Mainly that you can earn more money and you can have the services and supports you need under the waiver, and you can maintain Social Security disability insurance payments for quite some time until you're really substantially making a better income and can go forward. So now, what are the questions? We
All right.
have
So
a few more
if you
minutes,
do have,
maybe
yeah, if you do have
5.
questions, you can raise your hand in the chat. I mean, raise your hand, and I will ask to unmute you, and hopefully that works. It worked for Charlotte. But I already have a few questions in the chat, and if you have a few more, you can type in the chat as well. We'll try to answer as many as possible. We have a
Okay.
few minutes. So the first question I have is from Rosa Garcia. She said, if a disabled live-in parent of an adult disabled child on the Consumer Directed Care Plus or CDC through APD is considered tax exempt by the IRS and therefore does not receive a W-2 or 1099, then would it affect the parent's SSDI?
Again, I'm going to say you're going to have to ask SSDI, but that could be one of those rules that exempts it.
Okay.
But I would ask Social Security Administration.
Okay, she also asked, how do you notify SSDI that this is a trial work period?
They know.
Okay.
It's whatever's turned into Social Security Administration and IRS with your taxes. And if you want to know whether you're getting it or not, you could ask for your BPQY and you can see whether they're sticking it up there. But if the Department of Children and Families, or ACA, Agency for Healthcare Administration, and the Agency for Persons with Disabilities is not turning that into IRS, there could be no way for them to figure it out. But I would ask Social Security. I would just ask for your own BPQI and see if they're turning any wages or any earnings in for you.
Okay. Mary asked, is it true if a disabled adult child on SSI works at SGA level for several years while on SSI that they will not qualify for SSDI CDB benefit under parent's work record when parent retires or die?
You're asking kind of an interesting question. The first part of it is the SSI has a exemption from SGA, substantial gainful activity, is 1619A. And so, but it is still gross income that's being reported. And as long as they're earning over SGA, they're not going to receive the parents as a survivor or a dependent benefit. They would only receive it after their earnings went below SGA. They wouldn't necessarily lose their eligibility for it, but as long as they're earning above SGA, that's the requirement for eligibility for the SSDI payment.
Yeah. All right, well, Miss Charlotte, I don't see any other hands raised or any other questions in the chat. Everybody remember that I will be sending a follow-up email with our PDF, our agenda, and what we went over in the presentation today. If you would like a certificate of attendance, please email me at dustin@arcflorida.org. Miss Charlotte, anything else?
That's it. Thank you very much. I mean, it's kind of a complicated subject, but it can be a little simplified, I hope. And so if it's understandable, I hope that you got something out of it.
Yes, I think it was very, very beneficial. I learned a lot myself. So it is very tricky. I have to do a little presentation on this for the clients. When I did CCIR training, there's only a few programs now because of the laws they changed. But anyways, so it was very I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. Y'all have a wonderful day and thank you.
Yep. Everybody take care. Bye, y'all.
Bye.